Okay, guys, I know this video is late as hell. I mean, this is old news. This happened this past Saturday at UFC Vegas 65 on the Injakuku versus Kutalaba main event, or like short notice main event, I guess you could say. Because look, this video, you saw the title, it's about Derrick Lewis and why he pulled out of the event. Now, probably nobody's going to care about this, but I just feel like there should be a video about it. I would have made a video on Saturday, but there was not much information given out on Saturday for the video to be made. So I figured, okay, first of all, I didn't have too much time to make the video at the time, and there are some things going on, so I just decided, okay, I'm not going to make it. But I decided to maybe work out for the better, because what if more information comes out in the following days or following weeks that maybe I can make a video about it then. In the following weeks, people won't care about it anymore, so I decided I'll just make the video now before everyone loses interest completely. But it's about, mainly we're going to try to figure out, why did Derrick Lewis pull out of his UFC Vegas 65 fight night main event? Derrick Lewis, Sergey Spivak has been canceled. This sucks. When I heard Derrick Lewis fight was canceled, no Derrick Lewis. Main event, Derrick Lewis for Sergey Spivak is off of tonight's card per the broadcast. Brutal news. As you all know, or as most of you know, if you're watching the broadcast, you would have known that it was during the prelims, right? It was just a few hours before they were scheduled to fight, and Derrick Lewis for Sergey Spivak had to be canceled. Now why? So Derrick Lewis obviously pulled out. He was the one who had to cancel the fight. And there was a light heavyweight, fight that replaced the main event. It was between two unranked light heavyweights, Injakuku versus Kutalaba. It was a good card overall. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty decent. Even though the names weren't super big, I was still excited to see a lot of the guys on their fight. But we see here the UFC Vegas 65 main event bout between Derrick Lewis and Sergey Spivak. I think they spelled Sergey wrong. Had been called off due to a non-COVID and not weight cutting related illness on Lewis's side. And then Injagugu versus Ion Kutalaba was the new main event. So they tell us here, okay, it was an illness, but it was not COVID related and it was not weight cutting related. Some COVID illness pullouts we've seen recently was by Vitor Belfort, most recently in his on his boxing fight that he had to pull out of for the Misfit Series 3 card. Weight cutting related illnesses, I think the most recent case we've seen of that was, what was his name? Askar Askarov, who was a top 3 flyweight contender. He ended up leaving the UFC. He didn't get cut. He left the UFC on his own terms. I mean, I don't know how bad your weight cut has to be, but he really left the UFC because his weight cut was just that bad, I guess. He couldn't compete at flyweight. If you couldn't compete at flyweight, you can maybe move to bantamweight, but I don't know. But this ain't about him. This video is about Derrick Lewis and why he pulled out. So if it's not COVID related and it's not weight cutting related, then what was the illness exactly that made Derrick Lewis pull out of the event? Well, if we search it up on Google, they don't really tell us. Derrick Lewis for Sergey Spivak main event was canceled because of an illness. Nothing much. It was just hours before they were scheduled to fight. It was canceled as the card unfolded, just hours before the fight was scheduled to take place. So, I mean, what happened then? Some of you know, some of you don't know. We're gonna scroll up. There was a lot of memes about it. A lot of people upset that he had to pull out. And then if you look up here, the MMA media, the GOAT, always makes sure to get us the news. Never fails to bring us news. Early too. Derrick Lewis had been medically cleared after he was hospitalized. He had a stomach issue that caused the cancellation of the UFC Vegas 65 main event. So now we know that it was a stomach issue. And so if it was a stomach issue, that was that bad to the point where you had to call off the fight hours before, but it's even worse to the point where you have to go to the hospital because it's that bad. Is Derrick Lewis okay? Can he fight anytime soon? What is happening? What is his current state? Well, it came out that where is it? Okay, so he was reportedly hospitalized, but the details regarding his hospitalization were unknown. So we don't know much about it. We don't know much about his hospitalization, or we don't know really how bad it was. We can only assume that it was some really bad stomach issues, but it came out that he was cleared and released shortly after. So he went to the hospital, but he was proved to be fine. He was medically cleared, and he was able to be released from the hospital. So now he's all good, and now he is able to come back to compete. He's cleared to return to competition now. So what does this mean? He had a stomach issue that was so bad he had to go to the hospital, but all of a sudden he's good now. What was the stomach issue? Has he acknowledged anything? If you look at his official Twitter account, he's not said anything since February 10th. So that's something. You can look at any of his other social medias. He has just not acknowledged or addressed publicly this his short notice cancellation of the event. He's been completely quiet ever since this happened. We haven't heard of him since this. So what was the stomach issue? We don't know. He hasn't said anything. His team hasn't said anything. Nothing's been announced. Nothing's been said by the UFC or by Derrick Lewis himself or anybody around him. We just don't really know what the stomach issue was, how bad it was. Even though we know he's cleared to fight now, which is good, we might not ever know unless he says it maybe in an interview or at a press conference one day in the future. As of right now, we're not going to find out for some time. But the main theory online, and get this, the main theory online, a lot of people think Derrick Lewis had to shit so badly, and when he let it rip, his shit was so bad, so grueling, and so painful that he had to pull out of the fight. And until we get some confirmation off of what happened and why he had to pull out, I think this is the narrative we go for, that Derrick Lewis just had a really bad shit.